Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Scoops of Woo, where we are delivering metaphysical flavor on a cone of logic. And we are fellow seekers in wonderment, asking metaphysical questions out loud. Today, we have another of our wonderful friends, someone I have known for nearly a decade and crossed paths with in all kinds of wonderful ways. Jennifer Lonnberg is with us today, and she's known as the Christian psychic. And we're going to talk about that for a minute, but the real work that she's doing in the galactic space and beyond, and addressing some of the energetic tools that are available because of that kind of connection is part of our focus today. So, Jennifer, I want to say thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited for this conversation because I know you're a straight shooter and you like to deliver the goods.
Well, thanks. I am so excited to be here with you guys. I feel so privileged to be on this Two Scoops of Woo, and I love that, by the way. That's such a great title. So I'm just ready to dive in. Let's just get into the juicy conversation and go for it.
Oh, I do want to give people just a little bit of the background, just a little bit about what you do, and we'll share, of course, the website and then pump those things as well. Your focus really is about women and refining their intuitive gifts, right? Specifically working with women and creating safe spaces so that they can release the lingering judgments and the old beliefs and the nasty systems and those things. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Fear, right? Okay, so you said it first, Christian and psychic, what? And then how do you talk about that? And so there's so many women that I know that are just in fear of their gifts. Like they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what they're supposed to do with the gifts. And especially people that are like maybe thought they've kind of had gifts, but they've shut them down most of their life. And then all of a sudden the spiritual gifts to get stronger and stronger. And maybe they're a medium, but like they're a natural medium. And then they're like, what do I do with this? This does not fit in the box that I know. I don't know what to do with this. So there's so much fear, not so much these days, but especially, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, there was a lot of fear around it. And when I was a kid, I had that natural ability to see beyond the veil, so to speak. I could see Jesus and the angels and all of the other beings. And I grew up in church, and I love church and I love everything about it. I love the community, I love the Bible, I love the stories, I love the love that's at the heart center of it. Like if you can get past the dogma and maybe some of the misteachings or some of the ways that the Bible's been changed a little bit, or the way that what I mean? People get in the way. So religion has become not really what Christ consciousness is. So I wrote one of the first books, I guess. That wasn't my first book. It was my second book, but it's The Secret Experiences of a Closet Psychic, because I hid for so long because I didn't want to let anybody know that I knew things, right? Or that I could see things or whatever. And so part of my mission was always from that space, being able to give these people a safe place to say, look, I'm experiencing this metaphysical phenomenon and I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know who to ask. And so part of that was me coming out of the closet, of the psychic closet, the woo-woo closet, and being able to speak to that and to accept it for myself as well. And then understand how everything that is in this galaxy, this cosmos that we know, there's so much more that we don't really understand. And some of that ancient wisdom is coming back with these galactic frequencies. And it's just, I could just talk about it forever. So does that answer the question or just boggle the mind?
Well, that's what I was wanting to know about was how do you connect Christian and psychic? And so you've answered that question really well. And I think that's really interesting because, like you said, I believe there's a lot of people that get stopped with going there because of their faith and what they're taught in their religion. So I think that's really great to be able to reconcile those two and open that up.
Well, and you said something really important there. You said because of their faith. It's not the faith that stops them, it's the fear. Right? It's the fear. And there's like, I don't want to get all biblical and religious on this, but there's only a few verses in the Bible that talks about not talking to mediums, and they get mistranslated all the time. But if you look into the other parts and if you really dive in, and I like to read and I like to research. So I went straight to my Bible when I started having these things Melchizedek comes to visit me, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, I know Melchizedek's in the Bible, so that's the first thing I did, is went and read my scripture, and I studied it, and I looked into the history, and then I went into the Apocrypha, and then I, just kept bridging into it, and my faith has gotten stronger and stronger. And when you are open to that kind of a connection, then it does make sense, because it's not the faith that keeps people away from their gifts. And this is my opinion, but it's the fear. I think it's the fear of it, because if you think back to the Bible, the whole first part of it is all prophets, like prophet, psychic. What's the difference? The difference is how it gets translated. And of course, the other part of that is like, then, okay, where are you getting your information? Are you working with a pure heart? Are you, how are you using your gifts?
All right, I'm doing my best to hold off this galactic being part, because you just hit on something. Maybe I can bridge it right here. But you talked about Melchizedek. You talked about Yeshua and Melchizedek. Those names have come up. Yeah, I'm going to go with Yeshua. And the Melchizedek aspect is something that I always associate kind of with that sacred geometry, the ancient wisdom, another version of the same kinds of teachings, right? The different teachers that are in that. So there's a very groundedness to the possibilities of what is the teachings of those times. And if they're coming out in different ways, in different stories, which they have been, the Bible's not the only one. And it's in lots of places. So there's a connection in what we're doing now. Even with the Melchizedek specifically, I had an experience in the Mormon church where whether they realize it or not, the Melchizedek symbol is all over the place. And some of them don't actually recognize that until you point it out. I watched a baptism there where the father was the priest, or if that's what they call him in that situation. I apologize if I'm off, but he was baptizing his son, and he put his hand on his son's head, and then he just said whatever came to him. Right there in the church, right? There's the whole thing happening
in the church.
And I was so excited, because at the time I was like you, kind of coming out of that and stepping into those gifts in a fuller way. So to see that happen in a setting, and I could see the divine energy, the actual light coming in and coming through. I could experience it. I felt the heat of it. I felt the love. All of those things were present, and it wasn't really any different, except that it was in a different setting. So it feels like it's all kind of the same thing.
Well, so I agree with that. And I don't mean to interrupt, but I get so excited. So a lot of the things are, again, like, you believe in laying on of hands and healing, Reiki, quantum touch, like healing touch, like there's all these different modalities. So laying on of hands in the Bible is similar or the same as if you do those kind of healing techniques, right? The same thing, being prophetic or having a prophetic word is being psychic or getting channeled messages, right? So like there's so many different things. And I know, again, we have to be careful, because that gets into religiosity, and I'm not about religiosity. I'm about a true love for God and the divine. And so again, Jesus or Yeshua, I know that people have one way or another, they like to say that. I'm going to just say, if you call on Jesus, he's not going to tell you no because you didn't say Yeshua. Like, I feel like he comes in with such a pure heart. And again, that Christ consciousness is all about love, and you're not going to offend him by saying the name wrong. I know a lot of people do believe that you have to say Yeshua. But again, it's all about the energy, the intention, and the frequency of being able to want to connect to that divine consciousness.
So I've got a question for
go
you.
ahead.
With the Christ consciousness, so the Galactics then, are they part of that Christ consciousness, or is that a different?
So from my experience, it is the higher frequency energy. So we all, if you're listening to this like part of the podcast or this podcast by now, you've probably heard like 3D, 5D, like a lot of people are talking about that. We went from 3D experience of being human, right? Which was a little bit harder. We're awakening into divine consciousness. People are becoming more self-aware. They're coming more into wanting to experience spirituality. They're digging a little bit deeper into what does life mean. So we're moving from like 3D, 4D, and into 5D consciousness. Well, as we go up the scale, it's higher levels of love. So as we keep moving up, Christ consciousness is considered basically around 12th dimensional consciousness. There's all the beings in between that. So the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, there's all of these galactic beings. And again, all of the beings that I have worked with or channeled or had conversations with basically is how they come to me. It's like, hey, let's just have a chat, you know? And so they always have such a love vibration. The Arcturians I love because they are so matter of fact. They're like, of course it's love. That's all there is. Like there is no other thing but love. Like divine love is the frequency. And then there's still everything in between, right? Like the angels are meant for this earth plane. The angels are meant to help us. So they have probably the closest energy signature to humans because even though they're not human, they're a different frequency and a different level. They have a loving consciousness and they're literally made to help guide us, protect us, be our messengers on this planet of the earth, right? And then again, we keep going into the higher frequencies. And as we move up, then we get higher frequency, more light, and it becomes closer to Christ consciousness as you work up. And in my definition, Christ consciousness is like that ultimate, undeniable, unconditional love.
So you had, I actually heard this too, kind of more frequently, that we are kind of stepping into this, I guess, existence or this place in our lives and this where we are right now in this incarnation of everybody, that there's more people that are able to kind of get to that higher, or at least getting more aware. Are you finding that there's a lot of people that consider they have gifts, or is this more of like it was your calling, or you were chosen, or can it just be regular people?
It's regular people. Like, so what's cool about this is how I explain spiritual gifts, right? Everybody can play baseball, right? Like we might suck at it. Like I'm going to just say, and some people are just all stars from the very beginning. They can walk on and be first base. Some people are really, really good at being catchers. Some people are like, I'm just going to take stats because that's what I can do and where I'm good, right? So there's all these different levels. The only difference is we all have a divine connection because we're all divine. We all are a piece of the divine. Like we have a God spark within us. The only difference is if we know it's there and then how easy it is for us to connect to it, right? So if we liken that to baseball, we can all play baseball. We might not be that good at it, but everybody can play, right? In some way, shape, or form. And or be involved in the game, right? And it just depends on, are you an all-star that you just can walk on and play first base right away, or make the major leagues or whatever? Or do you need to practice all the time to get to that level so that you can play?
But you can practice. So you could practice and get there. Yeah. Cause I've had readings with people and then they go, whoa, you have a gift. And I'm like, well, you do too. I didn't come into this special.
Yeah. Well, and
I was just looking for it. I consciously and purposely looked for it.
Yeah. And I think everybody can, just some people are naturally born and they don't even, you don't have to work at it to do it. It's just something that's natural. And then there's people that are like, I have this inkling that maybe I should try this. And then they develop. I think you're called to it or not though. Like, I don't think everybody could, but I don't know that everybody needs to, because that may not be their sole purpose. That might not be the experience.
That's really true. They might have a completely different purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I just have to interject it because I keep thinking it is that, yeah, there's a lot of people that could be playing baseball, but there's a lot of folks that just rather get a hot dog and sit in the stands.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. I mean, looking at both sides of that, and we're talking about so many different names and energies and the way things are going and what's happening right now. And you are in the right place with us, Jennifer. You're talking about God sparks and Arcturians, Pleiadians, Mintakans. Let's get on the board here, because you are really reaching into the galactic beings. And one of the things you said disturbs me a tiny bit. I just want to throw it out there, and then I'll ask my question. Is that they were lined up to help us. We must really need it. Maybe this place is harder than we thought. I mean, I want to tell myself it's pretty cool. This place is all right. And some days I don't want to talk about it at all. So when you're talking to these beings, right, what is it about talking to them that helps you through that? And really, I'm super interested. Is there any group of beings that you talk to more often than others? Like, is there a soul group that shows up a lot, or is there particular folks that you work with? Is it a mishmash? Right? What's the benefit of working with them, and who do you work with the most often?
Okay, that's a lot of questions.
It's really just those two.
But no, well, and my brain is like, okay. So honestly, whenever I first started like finally accepting it, right? Because I literally shoved this down for so long and pushed it away. And when my guides would try to come in and speak with me, I was like, I'm not losing it. I'm not going crazy. Like, I am not listening to anything. Like, I'm not listening. But I've always seen the angels and demons, and obviously being raised Christian, like that's exactly what I was trying to do. And so it made sense to me to start with the angelic beings because I was more comfortable with the angels. That realm made sense to me. I had, the history of the Christian upbringing with that. And actually I had two of my family that had passed over that were in spirit that actually helped me in the beginning not be so afraid, because I was like, I had a knockdown drag out and I was like, okay, God, you did this to me. Like, you show me what to do, because I have prayed and prayed and prayed for you to take it away. And obviously you're not going to take it away. So will you please just show me what to do with it? Well, when I did that, man, in that instant, like my entire, the office that I was in, it was in my basement at my house. And all of a sudden there was spirit everywhere. And I was like, okay, what did I just ask for? So spirit showed up everywhere. And I kind of allowed myself to get comfortable with it. Right. So first, it was my loved ones that had passed over with the angels. Archangel Metatron came in, and I could have sworn that he told me Megatron, and I was like Transformers, and he's like, no, it's like this. And so then I had to go Google it, because I'm like, is this a real thing, or am I like, what am I hearing? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an angel. And so then that made sense too. And again, there's different levels of angels, right? So there's guardian angels, and then there's like the angels we would know that are associated with Archangel Michael. A lot of people resonate with that. There's, especially if you come from like a Catholic background, you understand all of the archangels. That makes a little bit more sense. When you start getting into working with Archangel Metatron, that kind of bridges the gap into another higher frequency, because he has a little bit different frequency. And then you can start bridging into more of the galactic frequencies from there. So I feel like it was a gradual progression. But then once I did that, then I was like remembering back when I was a kid and being like, oh yeah, I remember you. So when the quote unquote aliens started coming in, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. So then it let me kind of warm up to all of the other galactic beings that are out there. And then once I started not having the fear, again, like not having the fear and listening to the divine guidance, they really are trying to help us, because part of our purpose right now on this planet is to awaken and help the planet ascend, which means just moving up higher, right? Ascension just means moving up higher. So we're raising our consciousness, raising our awareness, raising the spirituality on the planet, which allows us to tap in to things that we wouldn't have maybe been able to access in 3D because it was too dense, right? The energy was too dense.
Hey, so if we are raising our energy and raising, what did you say? Sort of up-leveling Earth, but you said it in a much nicer way. But if we're doing that, does that mean we're kind of all collectively more kind of sensitive to it then? I mean, when there's things going on and we're in the world and maybe the energetic, pulse is off and we're all feeling it a bit more. Is that possible that now we're actually getting more of it? And is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah, that's absolutely what's happening. So again, as we raise our frequency and as we become more aware of our senses, right? It's just like if you awaken to something that you like, when something new comes into your awareness and you're like, ooh, I didn't know that you could use that tool, right? Like maybe you've only used hammers and all of a sudden now you've got a power tool and you're like, wow, this makes my job so much faster and easier, but you've got to learn how to use it, right? It's the same thing as we're awakening we're raising the vibration to where we're actually bringing in new senses. So a lot of people that maybe were sensitive are actually empathic, and they're feeling the energy, the frequency, other people's emotions, the solar flares, the Schumann resonance. Like, you become more sensitive. And I kind of liken this to back in the day. I mean, we've all probably got a story of like the grandma or the grandpa or somebody who said, oh, there's a storm coming. I can feel it in my bones, right? We could feel that barometer shift because they could feel the achiness in their bones. Well, we're a little bit more refined now as humans because we've awakened. And so now we're feeling all of this other energy in a different way. And it's just like that. It's like feeling a storm coming because you could feel it in your bones, but it's feeling the energy shift, the planet shift, the way we're moving through the galaxy, the Schumann resonance, the solar flares, CMEs, like you're feeling all of that on a different level. And especially people that were already empathic or sensitive, that's getting a little bit amplified. But it's
A
just
little? A little?
a lot amplified. Okay, fine.
Really? A little? Like literally myself had to, I knew I was sensitive. And in this last few years, I've had to actually say I am an empath. It was the only way to get my hands around that energy in a way. I had to own it so it would stop happening, and realize that I could offload so much of the junk. It just straight up didn't belong to me. And I didn't want to acknowledge it even when it was part of my practice in some cases. It's when I just finally said I'm an empath, that whole the intensity and the overload right back down here in a place where I can actually dial it in.
You acknowledged yourself and you gave yourself permission to feel it.
Bam.
Right. So that's half of it right there.
Right there. And that's there's the first tool for everybody. And I think that's part of what you were headed towards in your explanation too. I don't know if I just took the punchline or whatever, but it's the truth of just realizing it for ourselves and accepting it. Right? That we have talents, we have gifts, we have certain things that we are innately good at. Not everybody can pick up a guitar and play it. Not everybody is going to be good at baseball. Some people are actually better at drinking beer. So however it shows up is worthwhile. I still want to poke you on that question of who you're connecting with, and where are you getting the like are they bringing you the tools? Are they saying, hey, tell the folks to do this, right? Because you deliver a lot of information in different ways. You've got your Ascension Club, right? You've got the app that you're working with, and this isn't your first podcast because you have your own as well. There's that Spiritual Living with Jennifer. Right. So I know you're delivering a lot of information. How much of that is coming from this galactic connection that you feel like you're just a channel and the deliverer for?
Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. I feel like I am the channel and I just deliver the messages. So I have a practice of, like, when you're first learning how to do this, like you sit in meditation and you open and you ask your guides and angels. And I always pray and ask for divine guidance and divine protection. And, like, Father God, I ask Jesus and the angels to surround me in a divine sacred space, and whatever the highest and best messages that wants to come through comes through. Right. I've been doing that so long now that it's just, I feel like I'm in constant communion with the divine energy. And so it's kind of like, if there's a message that they want to get through, I'll kind of get like a nudging, like, okay, you need to sit down and channel. So I don't necessarily go looking for it, especially now. Like I just am an open channel, and they know if there's a message that they can come to me, and I will do that. Now I say they, and I have a group called the Celestials, and it's like a celestial council of sorts. Usually it's Jesus, Archangel Michael is almost always there. Archangel Metatron a lot. There's some Pleiadians, some Arcturians, Melchizedek, and there's just it's a galactic council, but it's not what people know as like the Galactic Foundation. This is a celestial council that I work with. It's my kind of group of 12, and sometimes they come and go. Sometimes there's 4 or 5 of the Pleiadians and 3 or 4 Arcturians. It just kind of depends on the message that's coming through. Here, the last channeled message that I had was from, they called it the White Guard, and it was actually with Melchizedek, but they were called the White Guard. And I feel like it's a part of like the high order of Melchizedek, but it was more of I don't want to say military, but more of like a regent, you know what I mean? And so, and they were saying, look, get ready. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for a few days, and like, just keep your wits about you. It's going to be okay, but there's some changes coming. So and it's always, always, always messages of love. And it's like, you're doing this, it's going to be okay. Like, and that's the benefit, right? Like, I think earlier you had asked what's the benefit of working with the angels and your guides. And um, it's just knowing that, one, you're not crazy, and that two, life on this planet's a little hard sometimes. And as long as you focus on divine love, then you're on the right track.
It's always nice to know that we've got all that support there with us too, that, you know, we're not alone, and that they're there cheering us on and helping us however they can, if we just allow it, right? And ask them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in a million years, we're bellied up to a bar at the end of the galactic stretch, and somebody says Earth, and we go, yeah, I was on Earth, and we don't pay for a beer for the rest of the millennia. Right?
Right.
What was that like? Oh man, I'm so glad it's over.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, so another piece I want to add, it's one thing to ask for the direction and for guidance, but you got to do like, if you get divine guidance, you've got to take the action.
What? It's responsibility. You know, this podcast is over. This episode is done. We're talking about responsibility now.
Yeah, radical responsibility. That's one of my hashtags.
It's so easy. It really is easy. Just do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's success from the top to the bottom. And I'll be honest, I've been blessed to be around a lot of folks, especially this year, that are intensely successful. And they're saying the handful of the same things. And a lot of it is authenticity, take care of yourself, right? And just be you, and let it be okay. It's
move
fine.
through the fear, like, do it afraid.
Just do the thing. Do the thing. That is the difference between somebody who's got the dream and somebody who gets the dream. Somebody who's got the dream, right, they just have it. They're just living it. They're in that moment. They can do it. But if they really want to get it, they got to do something to get there. You got to take action. And
fear is so tricky.
That's tricky. I agree. There's no but. Fear is tricky. Yeah, the action of going through it is what gets us there. It's going to me, it's going after what's underneath that fear. Fear is usually at least two things put together. What are those two things? Start there. If all I can do is one or the other, then I'm gonna tackle one or the other. But as soon as I figure out that the fear is two other things, I don't have to be scared anymore. Now it's not as intense, it's diffused. That's the technique that I use in that space.
That sounds way easier than what I've done.
You can have it, man. Give it to the world.
So whenever I am working with clients, like, one of the things that I always have to incorporate is, there's really 5 pillars to this human experience right now, right? There's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and galactic energy. So when you're feeling that fear, it's important to be in tune with yourself enough to be like, okay, what is this fear? Is this physical? Maybe you just didn't sleep good, right? Maybe you just, you're just having an off day. Maybe you need to drink some water. Maybe you need to drink a pop. I don't know, get some caffeine going, some coffee. So it could be just something physical. It could be emotional. It could be something emotional that happened to you when you were a kid. And so now you're afraid to try it. So you've got to work through it. You've got to dig a little bit sometimes to find out what it is that's actually in there holding you back. Of course, nasty little mean girl is what I call the mind chatter that'll kind of talk you out of that. What are you thinking? Why do you think you could do that? Right? Like, so you've got to maybe look at that. And then the spiritual piece again, do you have that divine connection? Are you trusting the guidance? Are you praying? Are you meditating? Are you like, it's one thing again to pray. It's another thing to listen. Right. And then the galactic frequencies again, like, I always say, don't be a victim of your astrology, but at the same time, like, if you know what's going on in your astrology, like if your Mars just got hit by something, like, you're not going to feel like you want to take action, because Mars is how you move through action. So, and then on top of that, all the galactic stuff with the solar flares and whatnot. So I feel like if you look at life from a whole perspective with those 5 pillars, that kind of will help you move through whatever it is that's holding you back, and then diffuse it, like you said, right?
Can you say them again? Just real quick, the 5 pillars.
Yeah. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and galactic.
Thank you.
And I do put like the Schumann resonance and stuff like that in with the galactic frequency, just because it's kind of tied together.
For some people that aren't familiar with the term galactic, could you explain that a little bit better?
So galactic to me, whenever I say that, is everything in the cosmos, everything in all the galaxies, right? It's everything beyond our understanding. So galactic is the Milky Way. We're moving through the galaxy right now, through the Milky Way, in a place that our Earth hasn't traveled here, because our solar system moves together. We kind of all learn that like in elementary science, right? But we're also moving through the galaxy around the Milky Way in a different way too. And then on top of that, there are other galaxies around us too that are all moving. So there's so much bigger than we could even understand. But scientifically, we're learning that it's not just the Milky Way, there's other galaxies out there, right? So it's learning that all of these things go together. And then you take that on a dimensional level. So not only is it us on the Earth, but there's all kind of other beings and all kind of other frequencies as well.
So we're never going to be in the same place twice, like ever, because we're always constantly going through and moving. That's wild. So I'm sitting here, but this like, it really isn't where I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
This is a video game, and my consciousness is sitting on a couch somewhere with a controller giggling like this is like a big role-playing game. Why do you think we recreate it so many times? The internet, Google, all that coming together, that is the step between us and actual consciousness. That's how the planet's getting woven together. That's how they're all being put into the same place. We wanted to be able to communicate through telepathy. We have it on our cell phones. It doesn't take very long. You think of something and you can do it now. You literally can have a business. You can think of an idea in the morning and be making money at it by the end of the day.
As long as you do it, you got to step into that action still.
True. But yeah, it's true. Just even having the idea now is possible. We were just talking about this on a feed today, that it's often that somebody gets the idea and maybe 6 or 7 people get it. And somebody says yes, and they try it. Right? But somebody says no. So the universe goes next, and keeps dropping that idea until it hits the right person that can pull that along. Like that's kind of the description of being called from the universe, right? The galactic hits, the things that come in, however they fall into my lap. Inspired action sometimes is just, man, I feel like this morning I came down to do something on my computer. And I don't know what happened, but I forgot what I was trying to do. But as soon as I got down here, my phone was on my desk and it rang, and it was a call I'd been waiting for 2 days. Didn't have anything to do with the computer. It was the nudge to get me downstairs, right? To be able to take that call, which was huge. The call really mattered. And it's those nudges when we're in inspired action. And you're saying, I think you and I are calling it pretty much the same thing there, Jennifer, is that when you're in that flow, when you're in that movement, because you guys, once you earn that kind of understanding for yourself, and I say earn it because I needed convincing. I needed to know that the things were real, that the miracles were real, and to see it happen continuously, and then even happen after they drop off and come back. That was super important to me. I had to be convinced. That's what it took. So once I earned that space and understood it and accepted it, that changed the landscape completely. All of a sudden, I'm able to cruise through just about anything with a different level of awareness. And am I enlightened? No, I am so far from that being true. Man, I have not transcended anything. Okay. But there is a feeling of a flow and a continuity. And it is those 5 pillars. It really is paying attention to all those things. And it doesn't matter, you guys, where you start on those pillars. If you're at galactic and physical, and those are the things you're paying attention to, great. Get good at those things. They will spill over into the other places. All of those things will come together. They come together for everybody somewhere. Right. And that's what I feel like a lot of what you're saying, Jennifer, is that if we just stay open, even if it's just an awareness to ourselves, no matter what environment we're in, right? No matter what environment we're in, you didn't lose any ground in a Christian space whatsoever. In fact, you're more of an advocate than anything, right? You're the example of what, to me, that is supposed to be. Being willing to be open and share every aspect of who you are in a way that can impact the world, right? Which is exactly what you do. I got to ask you about this, because before we go, people need to know. Now, you have the Ascension Club, right? And you've got a Facebook group, and you create this safe space. And I really would love for those that are listening to have an opportunity to hear what that means from you, because you're the true warmth behind that. So share a little bit about the Ascension Club and your Facebook group, please.
Okay, so the Facebook group is our open community. So it's just a free Facebook community. Come in, ask the questions. There is no judgment in there. You can ask anything. And there's all kinds of resources. I have free training. I have some guides. I have some channeled messages. Like, there's all kinds of stuff in there for you to come in and just kind of get familiar and start checking it out, right? Especially if you're new to it, and if you're advanced, there's stuff in there too. So that is my community. Like, one of the things that I wanted so much was I didn't want anybody to go through the struggle alone, of awakening to your gifts and actually accepting them, right? Because I've always had this ability, but I tried to choke it down. I tried to shut it down. So when I wanted to actually finally like embrace it, it took a little bit of guts to be able to do that. And if I would have had somebody that could have just been like, you're not crazy, it's okay, that would have been really good for me. So that's kind of where that community started. I just didn't want anybody to go in it alone, right? Like, I don't want anybody to go alone through the fear of that awakening process. The Ascension Club is my favorite because that's my paid membership. I keep the price really low on that, but we used to call it the Embodied Grace Essentials. And we were in there and we started getting into some really hard topics and some really kind of like, I don't want to say crazy, but it's one of those things where nothing's crazy because I've seen it all and I talk to all kinds of beings everywhere, but there was some really funny stuff that was happening, some exciting stuff that was happening, but it was just, I was like, you know what, whatever happens here stays here. And I'm like, this ascension stuff we're not messing around. And one of my members was like, oh my God, that's it. And I was like, it's like Fight Club. What happens here stays here. Like, the first thing is you don't talk about it. But we kind of say that jokingly. So my members actually came up with the name, the Ascension Club. And so that's what it started. That's how that started. It was called something else in the beginning, but it's been the Ascension Club for years now.
That is your safe space for members and particularly women. You really do focus on helping women specifically, because I remember that being part of your bio, right?
Yes. Almost everybody in there. Right now, everyone in the membership is it's all women. I just feel like there's a sacredness in that, and we can share as women in a different way than so it's not that I don't want to help the guys out there. That's I'm happy to do that, but also the membership is for women. And it's a sacred space to come in. We have meditations, again, channeled messages, divine guidance. I do monthly divine alignment sessions. So with the change of each zodiac season, then I ask for messages on what we can focus on and how to do the work. And there's journaling prompts and all kinds of good stuff in there.
Well, it's a really nice approach to creating exactly what it was that you felt like was missing for you. I would encourage folks to go to Jennifer Lonnberg, and that's 2 N's, you guys, Lonn. Go to jenniferlonnberg.com. You can also obviously look her up on Facebook. You can take a look in as always, there's good stuff in our description, and the links will be in there. If you get the chance to go to Jennifer's page, you guys, even if all you do is tap into the free resources, I mean, if you want 5 steps to connect to your angels, you want to know how to face some of those things that are confusing, there's free resources right there that you can get to know Jennifer even better, and maybe take a look at that monthly membership if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. It sounds like one of your easiest points of entry there is the Facebook group, and everybody can take a look there. One of the things I will say is, fellas, we are represented well in this space, so don't have any fear, because I was able to be on the Woman's Podcast podcast. And for one episode, my dear friend Jennifer marked out and wrote, and man, just that one time. So it really is more about the community and the sacredness of that space. And as guys, I think we know how to honor that and show up to support it. So I'm really glad that you keep that capsule the way that you do. And also that obviously, you know, you're willing to help everybody, but you know who it is that you really want to serve. And that's exactly what you do.
Well, thank you for that. It sounds so good. I'm like, oh, my heart.
It's the truth. I always like to tell people it's an observation, right? That's what I see as the truth in that space, and anyone else that's looking at it is likely to see the same thing. If people are looking for guidance, that's what they need. They need people that are willing to put that out there and say so. And you weren't always in that space. Now you are, and that means a lot of other people will be willing. I'm more confident just having spent time with you talking about it today to share what I have to say, right? Because you're so willing. So thank you for being open and vulnerable and really sharing the depth of your story. That has always been one of the beautiful things that you bring to the table is you will talk about anything and you will put it out there. So.
Yeah, you were saying how you help people with other people with their gifts, but it just kept coming back to me. You are the gift. You are the gift to other people. So
yeah, you guys are going to make me cry. Thank you for that. You know, it did kind of take a lot of guts in the beginning to step out with that and say, especially with the Christian psychic piece, like that was really scary. So, but I also, especially since I've gone through it, right? I really know that I was meant to do that, and it was on purpose because there's so many people that don't have a safe place to talk about those things. And that's what I wanted to do, was give everybody a safe space to, you know, to be able to open their heart to the possibilities, to understand that we're really limitless beings, and to not be in fear around these other energies that are coming in. Like if you can get past the fear and just understand the divine love that is available for us, like it makes life so much better. And it's that's the whole point, right? Is to love. So
the fear's not real.
Beautiful.
The fear's not real. It's made up of other stuff and it gets all piled together and then it looks like fear. It's not real. It is okay. You can get through it. Just take a look at it. It is not going to be as scary when you look it in the face because it's not as strong as you are. It's just not. That's not how that works. And all of us are a sliver of the divine. If I got enough of that in me, then I've got a light, and that light can shine. Doesn't matter how dark it is. And sometimes the darkest it is when it looks the brightest. You know what? So, okay, that actually works. That's why people look for a flashlight in the dark, man. It works. So be the flashlight. Be the flashlight. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you to obviously our Two Scoops cast. Yeah, we couldn't do this without this group, man. This is why it's so much fun. So thank you guys for all contributing and asking such great questions. Jennifer, we're going to send some folks your way and you keep flipping those light switches on for them. All right.
sounds good. Thank you guys so much for inviting me on today. I've really enjoyed it. Love to all of you guys.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
This is wonderful.
Thank you.
And a huge thank you to all of our listeners and to our support staff that you do not see behind the scenes. Much love there. We couldn't do it without everybody that brings it to the table for Two Scoops of Woo. We are metaphysical seekers in wonderment, asking questions out loud, folks. So if you've got those questions, send them on over. Please like and share. Get the opportunity to subscribe to our channel, and you will get some kind of notification for the next episodes. We will see you the next time around. Thanks from Two Scoops of Woo.
Bye.